Every Sunday morning, Daniel arrived at church before anyone else. He enjoyed serving God by arranging chairs, preparing the sound system, and welcoming everyone with a smile. To him, every act of service was an act of worship. On one beautiful Sunday morning, as he arranged the chairs for the youth service, a young woman walked into the church carrying a bouquet of fresh white flowers for the altar. Her name was Grace. She loved God with all her heart and faithfully served in the church choir. As Grace carefully walked toward the altar, one white flower slipped from the bouquet and landed gently on the church floor. She stopped and looked down, slightly embarrassed. Before Grace could pick it up, Daniel gently bent down, picked up the flower, and handed it back to her. "I think this belongs to you," he said with a warm smile. Grace smiled back. "Thank you so much." It was only a few words, but neither of them knew that this small moment would change their lives forever. Over the following weeks, they served together during church programs, youth outreaches, and prayer meetings. Their friendship grew naturally. They laughed together. They encouraged one another. Most importantly, they inspired each other to grow closer to God. After that Sunday, Daniel and Grace began serving together more often. Whether it was arranging chairs before service, organizing youth meetings, or visiting families during church outreach, they always found themselves working side by side. Their conversations became longer, and their laughter became more frequent. What started as a simple act of kindness slowly grew into a beautiful friendship. Instead of rushing into a relationship, they made a decision that surprised many of their friends. They agreed to pray separately and seek God's direction first. "If this is God's will," Grace said with a smile, "He will make the way clear." Daniel nodded. "Then we'll wait on Him." One Monday morning, Daniel arrived at work expecting an ordinary day. Instead, he was called into his manager's office. The company was struggling financially, and several employees had to be laid off. Daniel was one of them. As he packed his belongings and walked out of the building, his heart felt heavy. Questions filled his mind. God, why now? That evening, Daniel sat alone in his small apartment. The room was quiet. Bills lay on the table beside his Bible. He bowed his head and whispered, "Lord, I don't know what to do." For the first time in many years, fear tried to replace his faith. The next day, Grace noticed something was wrong. Daniel finally told her about losing his job. She listened without interrupting. Then she smiled gently. "Daniel," she said, "your job is not your identity. God has never failed us before, and He won't start now." Her words gave him hope. Instead of giving in to fear, they chose to pray. Every evening after work, Grace met Daniel at church. Together, they read the scriptures. Together, they worshiped. Together, they trusted that God would open the right door at the right time. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Daniel applied for many jobs. Some companies never replied. Others rejected him. It was painful. But every disappointment only pushed him closer to God. One quiet afternoon, Daniel's phone rang. It was a company he had interviewed with weeks earlier. "Good afternoon, Daniel. We're pleased to offer you the position." Daniel closed his eyes and smiled. "Thank you, Lord." Every prayer, every tear, and every moment of waiting had not been in vain. Daniel couldn't keep the news to himself. He hurried to New Hope Community Church, where Grace was finishing choir practice. As soon as she saw the smile on his face, she knew something wonderful had happened. "I got the job," Daniel said joyfully. Grace thanked God with him, and together they celebrated God's faithfulness. A few months later, Daniel invited Grace to the church garden. They walked together, remembering how their story had begun. Then Daniel stopped. He knelt on one knee. "Grace, from the day I picked up that flower, I thank God for bringing you into my life. Will you marry me?" With tears of joy, Grace smiled. "Yes, I will." Family, friends, and church members gathered to witness the beautiful union. The church where they first met became the place where they made their vows before God. Their journey had begun with a single act of kindness and ended with a lifelong promise of love and faithfulness. As they walked out of the church, hand in hand, surrounded by cheers and celebration, Daniel looked at Grace and smiled. They had learned that true love is built on faith, patience, and trust in God's perfect timing. Together, they stepped into the future, grateful for every chapter God had written in their story. Sometimes God asks us to wait, not to deny us, but to prepare us for something better. Trust His timing. His plans are always worth the wait.